Today on Capitol Hill, a peek into the status of our national security. The annual Worldwide Threats hearing is underway right now. It's where U.S. intelligence officials present their global threat assessments to lawmakers. And this year's hearing comes amid heightened concerns about terrorism here on U.S. soil as the war with Iran continues.
The global security landscape is volatile and complex, with armed conflict growing more common and posing potential threats against U.S. interests. Strategic competition and regional and smaller powers are becoming more willing to use force to pursue their interests, heightening the risk of conflict.
CBS News congressional correspondent Taurean Small is live on Capitol Hill for us today. And Taurean, what else have you heard in that hearing?
Mugo, I think it was pretty illuminating, the opening statement we heard from the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. She had a really notable omission from her prepared remarks that she delivered to lawmakers ahead of her speaking. She chose to omit a part, and this was something that Senator Mark Warner, the Democrat from Virginia, really seized on, where in part of it says, as a result of Operation Midnight Hammer, Iran's nuclear enrichment program was obliterated. She went on in those prepared remarks to explain essentially the first strikes that the U.S. had taken under Trump's administration to neutralize its capabilities. That calls into questions this idea of how imminent a threat from Iran was to justify President Trump's war with Iran. And that's something that Democrats were making note of, saying that in their minds, they believe it was nefarious that she left that part out. Her response was she did it. She condensed her statements orally for sake of time. But there was also one other exchange that I found pretty interesting. 2 days ago, President Trump talked to reporters about retaliation from Iran. And he was asked pretty directly by a reporter there whether or not it was puzzling to him, because he said previously he was surprised by retaliation from Iran, that no one in his administration had briefed him on that. He said in response, and I want to quote this, he said, quote, "The greatest experts nobody thought they were going to hit. There was no experts that was going to say this was going to happen." Tulsi Gabbard, who was the woman responsible with briefing Donald Trump on these matters, said that that was not something that she agreed with. She said she didn't hear his remarks, so she didn't want to respond to that directly. But she said historically, Iran has leveraged its proximity to these Gulf nations, and that it would be the logical idea that they would respond if they were attacked by retaliating those Gulf countries.
Taurean, I want to shift gears here and ask you about this because the Senate is debating a Trump-backed elections bill, and that's the Save America Act. Just how long is the debate expected to last, and when will senators take a final vote?
Yeah, it could last a couple of days, Mugo. We heard from Leader Thune before he took this measure to the floor. He said he wanted to put on record Democrats. This is in lieu of changing the Senate rules to opt for a talking filibuster, something that President Trump had been advocating for. There's still quite a bit of trepidation within the Republican Party about changing the fundamental nature of the Senate that would opt for more simple majorities, because, in Leader Thune's words, that has historically protected conservative and Republican priorities over Democrats. So he doesn't believe that this is the time that they should be making those changes. Again, in lieu of that, he's hoping to center this as a talking piece that Republicans can campaign on in the midterms elections by having every Democrat to the floor to defend their stance for voting against this national voter ID law, Mugo. So it could extend for a couple of days, but ultimately, though, this bill is expected to fail when it is set to hit the floor for a final vote.
Okay, Taurean Small on Capitol Hill for us. Thank you.